Good evening. Like everyone else, I want you to meet my wonderful wife of 38 years. She drove all the way over with me today. Susan, will you want to stand up? When we were making the decision together, going through a process of discernment and due diligence, we came really to two conclusions. First, we are losing our country. Our country, the one that was born at the founders in Philadelphia, with the founders in Philadelphia, may be no more unless people are willing all across, not just Michigan, but all across this great land to stand up for freedom and for those principles. So the first reason that we decided together that we were going to run is that this country, which, as Ronald Reagan said, it is the last best hope of man on earth. If America goes down, the world will go down with it. Number two, our country is in the middle of a debate that will define our country for the next 100 years. Are we going to be an entitlement, entanglement state, or are we going to trust each other and trust freedom and our Constitution? I want to go to Washington to fight for you and to represent you in that debate. But I don't want to go alone. I want you to go with me. The wonderful thing about the Tea Party movement is that people all across this country are beginning to rise up. Barack Obama has given us a great gift. It is to remind us of the blessings of freedom that we are to secure for ourselves and our posterity, and we are losing it. I have spent the last 40 years of my life trying to bring freedom to others, to bring opportunity where there wasn't, and to challenge the establishment when the establishment was crushing ordinary men and women. How many of you are familiar with Hillsdale College and in primers? 40 years ago, I started with primers. I started it to begin the process of letting the word go forth that freedom works. Today, or 40 years ago, we started with 500. Today, over 2 million people are reading in primers. What an achievement for the word of freedom. When Ronald Reagan was elected president, I had known Mr. Reagan, frankly, when he was governor in 1970, we met. I also, in 1976, with Jack Wellborn, by the way, Susan and I were living in Niles. She was teaching in Buchanan, and we opened up a Reagan for President headquarters right in the middle of the Michigan primary. Now, I want to tell you something. When all of Michigan was for a good man named Gerald Ford, I organized a whole group of young people to meet his train when he was coming across southern Michigan with Walter Cronkite, with all these Reagan volunteers. Why? There was a front page letter in the Niles Daily Star. It said to the people, we needed a Lincoln, not a Ford. But when Ronald Reagan was elected president, I got a call asking if I would come down and head up an agency. It was the toughest little agency in the federal government. My predecessor was a woman you may know. Her name was Hillary Rodham. And that agency had gone out of control. If you're going to take this job, if the people honor you to take this job, you must have courage to challenge both the spending culture in Washington, but also willing to take on the establishment. In my case, I did both. A United States Senator came out after my testimony and said to my government affairs person, you go back and tell Clark Durant to shut up and spend the money like everybody else. And that was a Republican. I look forward to more conversation. God bless you.
I'm sorry, Peter, go ahead.
Okay.
Well, I'm not quite as brave as the other candidates, so I figure if I walk out in front, I might trip over my mic cables. Plus, one of the toughest parts of my campaign is name recognition, so what I want to do is stand right behind my sign so everyone knows who I am. My name is Konechy, and it goes K-O-N-E-T-C-H-Y, so Konechy. When I was young, I was taught that one of the great things about the United States is that we had a constitutionally limited government whose purpose was to secure the liberty of the free people. Our founders knew that a free people, through voluntary charity, the free market, their personal endeavor, they can meet the needs of their society as well as their own needs much, much better than any sort of government bureaucracy could. From 1787, when the Constitution was founded, until the beginning of the 1930s, the United States went from a third world nation to a world-class economic superpower solely because we were free people unrestricted by government. The government followed its constitutional limitations. Well, just a while ago, I had a chance of looking at a Heritage Foundation report that ranked the freest nations in the world based on economic freedom. And I was thinking, okay, we're the United States of America. Hopefully we're going to be rated at the top. So I looked at the top and it was Hong Kong. It wasn't the United States. And I looked at 2, it was Singapore. I looked at 3 and I looked at 4 and I saw Australia and Canada in there. And then I looked at 5 and then I looked at 6 and looked at 7 and the United States wasn't there. So I finally found the United States ranked at number 9 in this report. And then the sad part was, it wasn't even in the free category anymore. The way it was set up is the first few nations were economically free. We were in the mostly free category. And I dug in a little bit further and I said, why the heck is the United States in the mostly free category? And it was all government interference in our society. It was due to repressive taxation for one thing, repressive regulation, how to control spending, and a huge, crushing, unsustainable debt. All totally government imposed. I would venture to argue that every single domestic problem that's being faced by this nation today is a direct result of the federal government imposing its will upon the people well outside of its constitutional authority. So then the question is, what can we do? We can complain about it, but I have a plan, and it's a very, very good plan. What happened is I had my plan reviewed by constitutional scholars, because I wanted to make sure that it met constitutional muster, and it did. My plan has been tried in countries around the world, and it has worked. It's been wildly successful. And the nice thing about my plan is that it doesn't require any amendments, and it doesn't require any convoluted logic of the Constitution. Everyone's heard of Herman Cain's plan, 999, for raising revenue. Well, my plan is a little more comprehensive. It's to address all the problems in the society, but it's called 1819. 18, what that refers to, Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. That goes through and it defines the duties of Congress. And every single duty within Article 1, Section 8 is national in scope. National defense, immigration. There's not one duty in Congress that says they can control or address the problems of the people. In a free nation such as we are, the people, the states, the free market, voluntary charity address our needs, not the federal government. The second part of my plan, and I go fast, is 19. That's Article 1, Section 9. That says basically that Congress cannot spend any money outside of its enumerated powers. And if we do that, all of our nation's problems will be solved.